This is Phil Weller for Get Your Rock Out. We're here in the media centre, and I've finally tracked Bruce from the Pineapple Thief down. How's it going, man?
Really good, yeah. It's one of those rare occasions where, because we're not playing today, we're just chilling out. We can be a punter and just drink all day and watch music, which you never get to do when you're touring. So I'm really chilled out.
Have you seen many bands then today? There was the football this morning, but after that was...
We saw Crimson Sky, and we just seen Person, who I thought were brilliant.
I really gutted I missed that set. Cause
did you not see it?
No, I'm a big Person fan of it, because like, Leaning on the Bear song is the catchiest little song you've...
They've just got something about them, and they've got an original angle, and they look good, and having a female front lady who's a really good guitarist is quite unique as well, so yeah, it's really good.
So you played just underneath Focus and the Flower Kings last night. Is it great to be part of a bill like that when it's full of like-minded bands?
Well, it's funny because we've been on the same bill as Focus 3 times, so I think this is the third time that we've been on the bill with them and Flower Kings, because just doing the sort of, in the progressive circle, they're the bands that you always come across, and because they're active. But it's good. I mean, we've always sort of straddled the borders of progressive rock and rock, so we're not like the Flower Kings, who are like they are sort of, I don't know how to describe their sound, but they are definitely progressive rock, and it's good. It's got us to where we are with the scene.
I mean, how would you define the music of the Pineapple? Because Wikipedia, for instance, has you down as everything from indie to prog rock.
And I guess that's it. I mean, because we've been going for so long, and we've gone, the music has changed, and fans are going, oh, I don't like their new direction, or I love their new direction, blah blah blah. We started off doing quite layered, very sort of much more progressive stuff, especially when I was doing the solo stuff, and then it became more rocky, moving away from sort of, I guess, traditional progressive sounds. I just wanted to make it something original, and so I don't know. It's just they're just songs, basically. That's all I can say.
Because I mean, like, to me, the term progressive music is sort of it's not. It's kind of diluted in the sense that, what does it mean? Complicated time signatures? Does it mean really long songs? How do you define the term?
It depends who you talk to. I think prog is very different to progressive, and to me, prog is your complicated time signatures, your songs that are quite long with loads of different sections. They don't conform to verse, chorus, middle eight, verse, chorus, blah blah blah, which is a good thing. But sometimes it comes in for criticism because it's self-indulgent and pretentious. People are doing it for the sake of it. You sit down and you've got to have a 15-minute song, you've got to have a 20-minute song, otherwise people ain't going to buy it. And there are people out there who think like that. But for me, I mean, if you look at the label we're on, Kscope, the bands on there are so broad. You've got Stephen Wilson, who's now doing jazz prog. You've got Anathema, who are pretty dreamy, anthemic. I'd say they're pretty poppy, personally. You've got Gazpacho, who are quite prog. Their new album's like 4 tracks. And then you've got people like Engineers and North Atlantic Constellation, who aren't prog at all. They're like post-rock electronica almost. So, but I still class it all as progressive because they're trying to do something new and different. So that's for me what the scene is.
So you've been busy recently with Jonas from Catatonia in Wisdom of Crows. How has that been nice in terms of sort of refreshing your creative skills and going out and doing something different?
Yeah, it was, and it was really good to meet Jonas, basically. So since then we've become good friends, go out to Stockholm to stay with him and meet all, and share stories. And the Catatonia are doing an unplugged tour in April, and I'm playing guitar on that tour because they didn't have a guitarist. So it does open your mind to a very different scene, so it definitely took my mind off what I've been doing for the last 10 years, which is just focusing on the Pineapple Thief. That's all I've ever thought about. It was good.
Because I mean, how did Wisdom of Crowds come about then? You make it sound like you hadn't really known each other before.
No, it was a project that I was doing with the main marketing guy at my label, funny enough, but we didn't have a singer. We had all the music and we had guide vocals, but it just wasn't right. And I always loved Jonas's voice, and he agreed to do it because they had a window. Because Catatonia, they tore their asses off. They're always on the road, and not to mention Bloodbath and all the other stuff they do. And but so he flew over to my house. That's the first time I met him, and we recorded the vocals in a week, and we just hit it off. And his vocals just made the record. He finished it because the project was going. We must have been working on it on and off for about 3 years, and he just flew over, and he was just magical. Just listening to him sing and recording him was so easy, and that's how it came about. And now, because we've did a little tour, we're good friends now. Now we're talking about doing another Wisdom album and doing it as a true collaboration.
Going away from that a little bit and back onto the Pineapple Thief, with the Someone Who Is Missing album, you worked with Stone for the album cover, and he's sadly passed away nearly a year now, which seems to have gone by so quickly. What was it like working with him?
It was one of those dream moments, because as a kid I grew up looking at the Hypnosis covers, flicking through the gatefolds, and I would never in my wildest dreams thought that one day Storm would be doing my album cover, and so it was, and going to meet him I just felt like a little kid, just like, wow, this is Storm. And he was a really nice guy. He's clearly eccentric, but in a nice way. He's friendly, he's lovely. And when I met him, he had cancer, and we spent a long time talking about it because my father-in-law had cancer. So it was just, we'd spend an hour talking about that, and then we'd talk about the concept of the album and things. He was just a nice guy.
He just seems to have this really vivid imagination for, because I'm reading his book at the moment, which he wrote, and it's just the way he manages to make connections from one little sound or whatever to these crazy images.
That's what I liked about it, is that he insisted on getting the demos and listening to, and what they do is they listen in their studio to the music, and he insisted on me giving lyrics and explaining the concept of the album before they sat down and brainstormed what kind of cover. So it was quite refreshing to think that they weren't just thinking about, let's put a crazy object in a field and make it. It's just like the surrealist photography that is easy to do without thinking about it. But everything he does his attention to detail was really awe-inspiring, to be honest.
It's that surrealism that just seems to make everything that he does so iconic and instantly recognisable. It's like,
completely, yeah.
He did one cover with Megadeth, who in their own right, they had a really, really vivid Ed Repka, and all those people had Rattlehead, and they got their own image, and then he came along, did Rude Awakening, and you can just tell that's the one he did straight away.
Yes.
It's completely different from everything that they've done.
And you can spot it. I don't think. I mean, you've got other sort of surrealist photographers like Carl Glover's probably the leading one now, but I think it was Storm who started it, and Hypnosis that started it. And I'm just picturing them all now. All these crazy, especially in the 70s where you didn't have Photoshop. You literally had to take your balls out to the desert and photograph them on sand dunes. It was like,
he's always said he was one for doing it for real as well. He didn't want the trickery. So
I think they do the last Biffy Clyro cover, and I think even then, when he was really sick, they flew over to the desert in the States or whatever, and to do it. So it's really sad.
On the cover of on the topic of album covers, you're currently reissuing the first Pineapple Thief record, and it was originally released with a title that you weren't happy with, so you've gone back to the original, the original
title was Abducted at Birth. At the very beginning of the Pineapple Thief, I only thought it would be one album, just an experiment, and let's just do something on my own. And the label just said you've got to call it something that sounds like you're the band you're in at the moment, otherwise people won't buy it. And I just didn't care, so I said, yeah, do what you want, just call it that, as long as it gets out there, and let's just put it to bed. And but now I look back, we're reissuing it, I get the chance to call it what it should be. Although going back to the reissues, this is the first album I ever did when I was on my own in my bedroom. So I listen to the songs and I think, but I think it needs to be out there just so people can understand the journey. But there's still some good moments on the record, but remixing it's going to be a little bit, I don't know, difficult.
So there's going to be a new cover to go with the new title. I saw a post on your website that said you were wanting pictures of babies or something.
That's right.
Have you had much response to that?
We have, we've got loads, and it's just the indoctrination aspect of and it's just really spooky having these really old photos, and I just thought it just gave a little special angle if fans could send in their own pics. So so we're putting that together now.
And that's something that you're doing alongside writing and recording a new album?
We're a long way through actually. We're just finishing the final bits of tracking, and this is the first album that I'm not involved with mixing. Just recorded it, and we're sending the mixes to a guy called Adam Noble to mix, so it's going to be interesting. But it's really, really chuffed with how it's sounding.
So what was the thought process behind detaching yourself from the mixing?
It was everyone always said to me over the years, have you ever thought of working with a producer? And I said, yeah, but you've got to meet the right person. We got Adam in to help us track the drums originally, because he's worked with everyone like Coldplay. He was front of house for Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's a top man. So we got him in to track drums, because drums is the hardest part of any recording session. And we got on so well, and we just understood each other so well, that I just thought, I want this guy to mix the record, because I trusted him and I knew that he would bring a fresh angle, and it's the first time in my career that I felt that, so I thought, let's do it.
So on the last record you had a 22-piece orchestra.
We did, yeah.
I mean, is that something that you'd like to revisit, or as a musician you're always obviously looking to progress, so how do you follow on from that?
Well, I mean, the strings was a dream come true, but you learn, and it was the first time I've worked with an orchestra. So this time we've worked with another section, but we've brought the numbers down. I think it was a 12-piece that we've used this time. But instead of tracking it in Prague, where it was cheap, we've tracked it in London, where it's more expensive, but we've got some superb players. I mean, they all came off the Peter Gabriel tour. And Andrew Skeet, his arrangements, because I knew him and he understands my music now, I just gave him a completely free rein. I said, look, here are the songs, interpret the strings. There were some guide strings on there which I put, but I said ignore them, and so he's come up with some amazing parts. So I think the orchestra feels like much more of a integral part of the sound for this new album. You just learn every time you do something.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Did you feel more comfortable trying to incorporate it? I mean, I know you say you only did the guide tracks, but with it being something that you've done before.
Yes, I understood it more. I understood to let go, so to not worry about spending ages programming strings. I just said, this is where the strings will work, and also just understanding, how to. It's very tempting when you're spending a large chunk of your budget on the string section, just to push the faders up and say, look, these strings, they sound brilliant, let's just have them throughout the record. But so you've got to be, that's why getting Adam in is really good, because he won't be tainted by any of that. He's just going to mix what sounds good.
Alright, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time.
That's all right.
Pleasure to meet you.
And you.
Pleasure to meet you.
And you.